Good morning, students. Welcome back in your SS class. Student, from today's video lecture, we will start our third chapter of history, that is Nazism and the rise of Hitler. Dear student, this chapter, it would be very most important chapter for board perspective, and you can say it would give you a lot of information about the world history. Dear student, we have two important dictators in our world history. The first one is Hitler, belonged to Germany, and the second one is Mussolini from Italy. We will discuss about in this chapter about Hitler. Dear student, during the class time, offline class time, I have told you that we have two world wars in the world. The first world war is from 1914 to 1918. The second world war from 1939 to 1945. We have these two world wars which was happened in our world. And if we think about these world war, these are great disaster. You can say that these are great disaster. Remember this thing: First World War from 1914 to 1918, only 4-year war. But Second World War, it was 1939 to 1945. It is 6-year war. But in our Indian history, in our world history, we have a lot of fight among different countries, more than 7 years, more than 10 years. But they were considered just only the fight between two nations and between, you can say that, two empires. But these two wars, they were considered as a world war. Reason is that because the loss of the life and property, it was very huge. That's why they are considered as a world war. Dear student, when we will start this chapter, so dear student, now this chapter, when we will start this chapter will be at will start at the end of the Second World War. At the end of the Second World War. And first of all, we will start the story of a person. After then, we will move to the First World War. Because Second World War, it was due to the it was a cause, it was the region of the First World War. Sorry, First World War, it was the region of the Second World War. We will discuss this thing. Why the First World War? That means what are the region and what are the problems? What are the region and what are the problems that is created in the First World War? We will discuss those things. Okay, in this chapter. Means क्या conditions create हुई थी, किस वजह से create हुई थी, हम ये सब चीजें जो है ना इस चैप्टर में पढ़ेंगे. फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर के बाद ऐसे क्या सिचुएशन, ऐसे क्या सर्कमस्टांसेस क्रिएट हो गई कि सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर की सिचुएशन क्रिएट हो गई. We will discuss all these things in this chapter. Now let's start the chapter, students. Nazism and the rise of Hitler. We will start this thing, students. So dear student, in the spring of 1945, a little 11-year-old German boy called Helmut, he was laying in bed when he overheard his parents discussing something in a very serious tone. Remember this thing? That person, that child, he belonged to German. And it was the time period of the spring 1945. It means it was at the end of the Second World War. And his parents, they were discussing in a very serious tone. It means something is serious there. He overheard it. उसने छिपकर सुन लिया ये बात. His father, a prominent physician, deliberated with his wife whether the time had come to kill the entire family or if he should commit suicide alone. His father, who was a physician in the German army, he was saying his wife that the time had come that he would kill entire family, otherwise he would kill himself, he would commit suicide. This was a serious time. Means why this person was saying these words, we have to discuss this thing. We have to discuss this thing. The father of Helmut, he spoke about his fear of revenge. He was speaking about revenge and saying that now the allies will do to us what we do to the crippled and Jews. Now, dear student, in the First World War, the entire world, it was divided into two parts: Central Powers and Allied Power. Central Powers and Allied Power. And in the Second World War, the world again divided into two parts: Allied Power and Allied Power. Sorry, Axis Power and Allied Power. Germany, he was in the it was in the Axis Power. Germany, Italy, and Japan. These are three countries, major countries. And on the other hand, if we think about the Allied Power, Allied Power, Britain, and you can say England, USA, Russia, and the other part of it. Right, friends? So the entire world, it was divided into two groups, and the war is between these two groups. And the here word allies, it means the country Britain, or you can say England, USA, Russia, etc. They will do so what they did with the crippled. Crippled, it means disabled person, and with the Jews. And with the Jews, it means something wrong was happened in the Germany with crippled and Jews. We have to discuss these things because these things were happened after the First World War and before the Second World War. We have to discuss all these things here. मीन्स हम इस चैप्टर में जो टोटल ओवरऑल स्टोरी डिस्कस करेंगे वो करेंगे 1918 से लेकर 1939 या 1945 तक क्या हुआ था जर्मन के अंदर कि जिसकी वजह से सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर जैसी सिचुएशन क्रिएट हो गई. वी विल डिस्कस ऑल दीज थिंग्स इन दिस चैप्टर. दिस इज द टाइम पीरियड ऑफ आफ्टर द सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर. दिस वाज द टाइम पीरियड ऑफ आफ्टर द सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर. रिमेंबर दिस थिंग. This was the time period of after the Second World War. We are at the time of 1945. It means we are at the end of the Second World War, where Germany was defeated. Where Germany was defeated. Now, this was the situation of that time. Now the next day, he took Helmut to the woods. Woods here, it means forest, where they spent their last happy time together, singing old children's songs. Now, next day, his father took Helmut to the forest area where they spent a very last happy time. Even this, they sang a very good, they enjoy the things also. Okay, students. So, students, in this way, they enjoyed the moment. Later, Helmut's father showed himself in his office next day or after some time. There was a bad news that Helmut's father he had committed suicide. Helmut remembered that he saw his father's bloody uniform being burnt in the family fireplace. So he traumatized was he by what he had overheard and what had happened, that he reacted by refusing to eat at home for the next following 9 years. He was afraid that his mother might poison him. जब उसने अपने फादर की जो यूनिफॉर्म थी जिसके ऊपर खून के धब्बे लगे हुए थे, जब उसको फायर प्लेस पे जलता हुआ देखा तो उसको वो बात याद आ गई. He remembered that thing what he overheard, that the time had come whether the entire family would be killed, otherwise he would commit suicide. So due to this thing, Helmut reacted in a very strange manner that for the next 9 years, he did not take even a single drop of water from his home because he thought that he feared that his mother would poison him. उसकी माँ उसे poison दे देगी इस वजह से. Now see the situation. Now see the situation what had happened. So this was the situation, dear student. Now we have to discuss all these things, but what had happened in Germany after the First World War and before the Second World War? Means between these two World War, what had happened there? Why the father of Helmut, he committed suicide? We have to discuss things. And this would be most important thing, my dear student. Remember this thing. This would be the most important thing for you. Now, although Helmut may not have realized all that, it means his father had been a Nazi and a supporter of Adolf Hitler. Now, dear student, the name of Hitler, it is Adolf Hitler. Most important, Adolf Hitler. Helmut may not have realized it that his father was a Nazi, means his father supported the policy of Nazi, and he was a supporter of Adolf Hitler. And many of you will know something about Nazis and Hitler. आप में से भी बहुत ही कम व्यक्तियों को पता होगा. From this video lecture, from this chapter, you would come to know about Adolf Hitler. He was a great dictator, you can say that, in the world history. We will discuss about this thing. You probably know of the Hitler's determination to make Germany into a mighty power and his ambition of conquering all of Europe. If you think about Hitler, he had a great determination that he would make Germany a mighty power. It means a great power in Europe. He would own all the European areas. You may have heard that he killed Jews. He killed Jews. But Nazism was not one or two isolated acts. Means he did not kill just only Jews. There are many acts, there are many things which many crimes he did, and they were considered crime against humanity. We will discuss all these things in this chapter. It was a system, a structure of ideas about the world and the politics. It means due to the ideology of Nazi and Hitler, the history of the world, the politics of the world, it was shaped. Let us try to understand what Nazism was all about. In this chapter, we will discuss about what was Nazism, and let us see why Helmut's father killed himself and what was the basis of his fear was. We will discuss all these things here. Right? In May 1945, Germany surrendered to the Allies. It means at the time of the Second World War, Germany, it was totally defeated. It surrendered to the Allies. Anticipating what was coming, Hitler and his propaganda minister Goebbels, remember this thing, who was the minister of the Hitler, Goebbels, and entire his family, they committed suicide collectively in Berlin bunker in April. In April, in the Berlin bunker, they committed suicide. At the end of the war, there was an international military tribunal at the Nuremberg. It was set up and the prosecute Nazis war criminals for crime against peace, crime against humanity also. It means that the people of Nazi, they were killed because they committed some crimes against humanity. What crimes they did, we have to discuss all these things. Germany conduct during the war, especially those actions which, come to the next page, came to be called the crime against humanity, raised serious moral and ethical questions and invited worldwide condemnation. It means he was condemned, उन्हें निंदा का सामना करना पड़ा. Now let's discuss what were these acts. वो act क्या थे? So before discussing it, let's discuss about the word allies. I have told you that the world is divided into two parts. The first one is Axis power. The second one is Allies power. If we think about Allied power, they were UK, France. And in 1941, USSR and USA, they joined this Allied power. USSR, it was former Russia. I have already told you. Okay? And they fought against Axis power. It means Germany, Italy, and Japan. My dear student, remember one thing here. During the First World War, the world is divided to two part, Allied and Central Power. But at that time, Japan was in the favor of the UK. It means Britain, it means England. Okay, and second thing, most important, in the First World War, USA entered in 1917, and in the Second World War, USA entered in the World War in 1941. Remember this thing. And due to the entry of the USA, Britain won the both world wars. This was the basic reason. We will discuss this thing in the later part of the chapter. Now, dear student, under the shadow of the Second World War, Germany had waged a genocidal war. Genocidal, it means killing of large scale people. It means many people they were killed, which resulted in the mass murder of the selected groups of innocent civilians of the Europe also. It was estimated that the number of people killed, it include near about 6 million Jews, 2 lakh gypsies, and 1 million Polish civilians, and 70,000 of German people they were who were considered the mentally and physically disabled. All these people they were killed. All people these were killed. Only in Germany you can see that. Only in Europe also. Nazi devised an unprecedented means of killing people. That is by gassing them in various killing centers like Auschwitz. The Nuremberg tribunal sentenced only 11 leading Nazi deaths. Remember this thing. Whenever there is a Nuremberg killing, there only 11 Nazi people were died. Many others they were imprisoned for life also. The retribution did come, yet the punishment of the Nazi was far short of the brutality and extent of their crime. The elite did not want to be as harsh on defeated Germany as they had been after the First World War. This point must be most important because we will discuss only this point in this chapter. Because in the First World War, Germany, it was defeated. And there was a harsh, humiliating treaty at the place of Versailles. At the place of Versailles, it was a humiliating treaty. And due to this humiliating treaty, the Second World War, it was created. We will discuss this thing. That's why the Allies, they did not become so harsh as they became after the First World War. That's why everyone came to feel that the rise of Nazi Germany could be partially traced back to the German experience at the end of the First World War. Means maximum people they thought that whatever happened in Germany, the region of the Second World War, it was just only because Nazi people, because Germany, it felt a humiliating treaty after the First World War. It faced a humiliating treaty after the First World War. This was the basic reason of it. So we have most important question here. What was this experience? Means उन्होंने क्या फेस किया? हम इस चीज को इस चैप्टर में डिस्कस करेंगे. Also, it would be this would be the introduction part, and this introduction part it is covered to you, right? It is clear to all of you. Now, dear student, first of all, let's discuss about the first part of this chapter, that is birth of the Weimar Republic. Means now this would be the recap of the Helmut story. Helmut story, it was happened in 1945. Now we are at the time of the 1914 to 1918. Now let's read the chapter and try to find out the question why the situation of the Second World War created. We will discuss all these things in this chapter, right? And it would be most important, dear student. Now, dear student, birth of Weimar Republic, let's discuss about it. Now, Germany, it was a powerful country at the early years of the 20th century. It fought the First World War between 1914 to 1918 alongside the Austrian Empire. फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर के दौरान में जर्मनी के साथ जो था ऑस्ट्रिया एंड हंगरी इसके साथ थे, एंड इट वाज अगेंस्ट द एलिज पावर. एलिज इट मींस इंग्लैंड, फ्रांस एंड रशिया. I have told you that The world is divided into two parts, central power and allied power. Germany, it was in the central power, and England, France, and Russia, it was in the allied power, right? Whenever the war it was started, everyone participated in it in a very enthusiastic manner because they thought that it would, you can say that it would last just only 1 or 2 or 3 and 1 year. It would be last. It would last, but little by little, they realized that this war would stretch on, eventually draining the Europe of all its resources. It means Europe before 1914, Europe, it was a developed area. There was a huge development there, but due to this war, this continent, which was considered as a creditor, जो दूसरों को लोन दिया करता था, he has to take the loan from the other country also. All the resources they were drained due to just only this war. Okay, during the First World War, in the initial part of the First World War, Germany made some victory. He gained some part of the France and Belgium. It means उसने कुछ फ्रांस और बेल्जियम के एरिया पे कब्जा कर लिया था. But when USA entered in 1917 with the Allied power, the situation became changed. Now the Central Power in November 1918 it was defeated. It means जर्मनी जो कि शुरुआती दौर में के अंदर फ्रांस, बेल्जियम इन सब के ऊपर अपना कब्जा जमा लेता है, जो कि जीतता जा रहा था. But when in 1917 USA entered in the First World War, the situation was totally changed. Central Power in November 1918 it was defeated. Means जो जर्मनी था वो फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर में हार गया था. Right? So here we have one important question, that when did USA enter in the First World War? It was in 1917. It was in 1917. This would be the most important for you. Right? Now this situation, because the Central Power it was defeated, Germany it was defeated country. Now due to this thing, Germany became a republic country. The Republican government, it got a chance to create its supremacy over Germany. But it was a bad thing for the Weimar Republic. What would happen with the Weimar Republic? We will discuss it in the next video lecture. Right? Hope so everything is clear to all of you. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Have a nice day.